Hi guys, and welcome to my video where I talk you through my September TBR. So if you've seen my last video, you will know that I'm taking part in the Spooky Seasonal Challenge that's being hosted by Covers with Cassidy. I need to read 7, I think there's 21 prompts in 21 books that I need to read to hit all of the prompts with the way that I'm doing it, which I talk about a little bit in my previous video. So to stay on track, I'm doing it over September, October, November. So to stay on track, I need to read 7 books from that challenge each month. And then I do have some other books that I would like to get to as well. So we shall start off with books that I need to finish because I've already started them. So the first one that I need to finish is Camp Damascus. I don't plan on including this in the Spooky Seasonal Challenge, but I may do, just depending on how things are going. I did start this in August, so it does feel a little bit like cheating, but I'm currently listening to that on Everand, so I do need to get it finished, and there will be a cover here, hopefully. I have a lot of faith in my editing skills. The next book is a physical read. I do tend to have an audio and physical book on the go at the same time. I do sometimes have an ebook going at the same time as well, but that is The Half-Burnt House by Alex North. I have previously really enjoyed The Whisper Man and The Shadow Friend, both of which I own, that he's released as well. So I thought I'd give this a go. I'm not very far into it. I'm only about 30 pages in, so I need to get this finished this month. Next, for the Spooky Seasonal Challenge, I have The God in the Woods by Liz Moore. This is on Everand. It is also Kayla, Books and Lala, her book club, Literally Dead book club. It is their September pick, so I would really love to get this read in time for that live show so that I can participate and just sort of share my thoughts with a bunch of like-minded people who have also all read it. So again, on Everand, I'll be reading it as an audiobook. It does help me sort of, you know, burn through some of these books quite quickly, listening to them on audio. The next one that I'd like to get to is The Prophesied Son by Tim Sampson. This is the first book in a series. I'll be reading it on my Kindle. I've actually been accepted to be a e-arc reader for Tim Sampson for the second book in the series, so I do really need to get this first book done, and I want to get started on it sooner rather than later, because it is about 500 pages long, so I want to give myself plenty of time to read that before the second book comes out, or before those arcs come out. I also have Sour Candy by Kaylin Patrick Burke that I plan on reading. This again is for the Spooky Seasonal Challenge, so I do want to get to that one. I know it's a relatively short book, so I should be able to blitz through that probably in a day, maybe even just a few hours, but we shall see. I also have The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. This is one of Riley Sager's backlists. I'm reading it for the Spooky Seasonal Challenge, so I do want to get to that one this month as well. I do tend to like a lot of Riley Sager's work. I don't think there's been a single one so far that I haven't enjoyed, although there are ones that I've obviously liked a lot better than others. But yeah, I'm interested to give this a read, and hopefully I like it as much as I've liked his other books. Next up, we have Clown in a Cornfield by Adam Cesare. Again, this is for the Spooky Seasonal Challenge. It just sounds interesting, to be quite honest. I'm just in the mood for some good horror books. I know that it's a YA, so I'm hoping that it should be quite quick to get through. The only issue I might run into is a lot of these books are going to be off of Everand, and I know obviously you can only read so many before it stops you getting access to all of the books. So there's some of these books that I might need to switch out, but if I do switch them out, I will let you know what I'm reading either here or on Instagram or on my TikTok. But it will be another book that's on my spooky seasonal challenge TBR, which you can go back and watch that video to sort of get an idea of what books I'm going to be reading over the next 3 months. The next one is What Kind of Mother by Clay McLeod Chapman. Again, it's on Everand. I know that it's a novella. It's for the spooky seasonal challenge, so I do want to get to that one. The next one, and going back to a physical book that I actually own, is Hide by Kirsten White. Again, this is for the spooky seasonal challenge. I've got it physically. It's relatively short. I think I'm going to get through it quite quickly, so I figured tackle this one. And then the next one that I would like to get to, again it's a physical book, relatively short, is Tender as the Flesh by Agustina Bazterrica. Again, for the spooky seasonal challenge, really want to get to this one. I'm really excited to read it, so it's going on this month's TBR. Following on from that, we do have some books that I would like to get to. Obviously I already have a list of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 11 books there, so maybe being a little bit optimistic, although I did read 15 books in August, so I know I've at least got a little bit of wiggle room there. I would really like to get to some of my books that were on my August TBR that I didn't quite have a chance to get to. So the first one I'd like to get to is The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin. I believe that this book tackles gender and isolation. Again, if you've seen my spooky seasonal challenge, you will know that I prefer to go into books a little bit blind. But this is one that I really need to get to. My friend brought it for me for my 25th birthday, which was over 2 years ago now, and I've not even cracked it open. So I absolutely need to get around to reading this book, and I'm hoping I will have time to read it this month. Although if not, I may move it to like December or January, just because it's like snowy and it may be a good winter read. But I would like to read it this month. We shall see what happens. Next up, I have Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. I've heard good things about Laini Taylor's writing. I've heard it's very lyrical, and that was one of the things that I really loved about The Starless Sea, which I read in August. So I am hoping to maybe get to this. I do have the first and second book in this series. I need to stop buying the first and second books of series when I've not even read the first one yet. But yeah, I'm hoping I can get to this. I love the cover as well. It's just a very pretty book. But yes, hopefully this month. If not, I'll see if I can slot it in somewhere else. Up next, we have Midnight is the Darkest Hour by Ashley Winstead. I read The Last Housewife and really loved it. I do need to get round to In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, but I think I may want to purchase it to read physically instead of like on audio or something. But I do have this. It was, I believe, a Christmas gift from one of my friends this year, so it's not been on my TBR for as long. But I am really excited to read this. I think Ashley Winstead has a great way of writing sort of tense, atmospheric mystery thrillers, and this is something I'm really excited for. I haven't read the synopsis. I don't want to read the synopsis. I don't want to spoil anything for myself. I would rather just go in absolutely blind, which is what I did for The Last Housewife, and I loved it. So following on from that, we have The Mercies by Kieran Millwood Hargrave. This has actually been loaned to me by my gorgeous, beautiful, lovely friend, and I've had it for a couple of months now and I've still not read it, so I really need to get around to reading this one so that I can actually give it back to her. I know that it is set in the 1600s in Norway, sort of in a similar vein to other historical fictions, but it's set in Norway, and I did actually visit Scandinavia in May to go see Taylor Swift, so it'll be quite nice to read. I didn't go to Norway, I went to Sweden, but it will be nice to read something that's sort of set nearish to there. So I'm very excited to give this a read, and hopefully I get to it in September. There are some other books that, if for some reason I have an exceptional reading month and I manage to tackle everything that's on my must-read TBR and all of the additional books that are left over from last month that I'd really like to get to, there are a few other books that I would absolutely love to read this month. I'll be back in just a second. I need a sip of water, but then we'll be right back to finish off the last section, which is I'm being entirely too optimistic about my chances of getting to these books, but they're going on the TBR. And we are back. As I said, I'm very aware of my limitations. I know I'm not going to get to every book in this stack, but I find looking at my whole sort of library very overwhelming. So I do tend to sort of like to pull books off that I like to sort of have as an option to mood read, but without having to look at all of this all in one go. So with that being said, let's get started on additional books that would be great if I could get to them, but if not, it's no big deal. So the first one is the ABC Murders by Agatha Christie. I've been collecting the HarperCollins editions of these books because they are stunning, and as of yet I have not read a single one. So I would like to get to this, although I do also have Autumn Chills, which I know is a collection of short stories, so maybe I might also put this on my TBR. Although that might be like a September, October, November read. But yeah, I'd love to get to both of those. I wait for autumn every year to read Autumn Chills, and then I never read Autumn Chills because I forget about it. I am so sorry about the way that the sun's coming in. I'm in an attic room, so we're just going to have to deal with it. But yeah, I'd love to get to both of these. They're beautiful editions. I feel like I can't really carry on collecting them though unless I start actually reading the ones that I have. So we have those. Next up, it's been a while since I read any of the Veronica Speedwell series, but I absolutely adore this series of books. This is the next one that I need to get to, The Impossible Imposter. I don't know if you can see, but I do have A Sinister Revenge there, and then I would need to buy the newest book. But yes, I want to get to this. Again, it doesn't have to be this month. I'm not in any rush, but I just think these books are great for me to pick up when I fancy a mood read. I find them really easily digestible and readable, and I absolutely love Veronica and Stoker, and I do have a Veronica Speedwell tattoo, which, if you go back to my first video, my August wrap up, I get sidetracked talking about a little bit. But yeah, that is also on my potential TBR for this month. Up next, we have this chunky bad boy, The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. I really want to get into the universe that is sort of, you know, the Cosmere, and obviously this is book one of the Mistborn era one, I believe, so I would love to get to this. I'm optimistic that I'm going to really enjoy it based off how much I loved let me just see if I can move you slightly to, is that better? That's a little bit better. Yeah, so I'm very optimistic that I will like this based off of how much I absolutely loved a Frugal Wizard's Guide to Medieval England, something like that. So yeah, I would love to read this month. Again, doesn't matter if I don't, because it's just on the potential TBR, not the I need to read these books TBR. Not even on the if I have extra time to read these books TBR. It's if for some reason I get through all of them, then we have these. Next up is Our Wives Under the Sea. It would be great if I could get to this month because I only brought it in August, and I think that would be the quickest that I have ever read a book after I've purchased it. I'm just really excited for it. I think I'm going to love it. Kayla absolutely loved this, and our reading tastes tend to line up quite well. So yeah, if I can get to it, I will. If not, I will be getting to it at some point over the next 3 months, because it is potentially one of my picks for the spooky seasonal challenge. If you've seen that video, you'll know why I said potentially, because I do have another option for this prompt. But yeah, I would like to get to this hopefully this month. If not, it will be sometime October, November. Much like Our Wives Under the Sea, Schrader's Chord. Again, I will be getting to it at some point sort of between now and the end of November. I would love to get it done sooner though, just to get it sort of ticked off the list. It sounds really interesting from like the brief part of the synopsis that I've read. It sort of feels like it might give We Sold Our Souls vibes, the Grady Hendrix book, which I loved. And if so, this is going to be an excellent read for me. So this is another one. I'd like to get to it in September. We shall see. Next up, and this is very optimistic because I've started this book so many times and have never finished it. It is Nights at the Circus by Angela Carter. Owned this book for absolutely years, and I just really want to get around to it, and it feels like it's like a good autumn read. So yeah, it's also a classic, so I can get closer to hitting my classics goal. But yeah, I'd like to get this one done. Maybe. As I said, may not be this month. Who knows? Next up, we have Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. Again, it's one that's been on my TBR a few times. I've read the first chapter. It does really intrigue me, but there's just been other stuff that I've picked sort of over it. But I do want to get to this, and I feel like spooky season is the perfect time. So again, hopefully in September, but it may be an October, November pick. We shall see. Following on from that, and a little bit of a change of pace, is Solomon's Crown by Natasha Siegel. I actually know Natasha in real life, and I really want to get to this book, and also her second book, The Phoenix Bride, because obviously I want to support a friend, and I've already loaned this out to my best friend, which is why it looks well read, and she absolutely devoured it. So it's something I keep meaning to pick up, and then other stuff just gets in the way. So hopefully this month. If not, I will definitely be reading it before Christmas. Following on from that, we have another book that I picked up last month, which is the Dalagut Dream Department Store. I'm not gonna lie, I know nothing about this book. I just picked it up because the cover is amazing, and the back cover is also stunning. Again, it's one that I'd really like to get to this month, but I have sort of other books that are more of a priority. I just, again, like having a lot of options that I can pick from if I do want something to mood read. So that's also going in the stack. Ooh. And then moving on from that, we have The Dangers of Smoking in Bed by Marina Enrique. I think this was also read by Kayla, and she really enjoyed it. I think it's just the one story. I wasn't sure if it was a short story collection. I know it's a horror that's set in Buenos Aires, and I'd just be really intrigued to give this a read. I'm sure I could potentially swap this out for maybe one of the prompts if I needed to for the spooky seasonal challenge, because there are hands on the cover, I know it's not the main focus, but if I'm not feeling what I've actually got picked for that, I may swap it out for this. But yeah, it's only a short book. I reckon I can slot that in somewhere. And then finally, I want to read You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty by Akwaeke Emezi. I would really like to get to this before the summer properly leaves us, which means that I do need to sort of get this read in probably the next week or so. I'm in the UK, it's already starting to get a little bit chilly, so this absolutely needs to be sooner rather than later. But again, it is just there as sort of a mood read if I fancy it. I did pick this up last month. I got it from a charity shop, so if I don't get round to it until next summer, I'm not too mad. I just thought I'd put it on there in case I'm in the mood for what I think is a romance. But even if not a romance, I think it's good to have a few light-hearted options on my TBR, as obviously a lot of the books that I need to read are quite dark or very, like, not dark heavy, but just like content heavy. So there we have it, my very, very long TBR. Obviously we have all of these, and then another stack here which I'm not even going to attempt to lift up, or should I, just for the fun of it, just for the fun of it. And then we also have all of these that I'd like to get to potentially. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see more from me, I have some fun reading vlogs planned, especially with spooky season coming up. I am going to try and do some sort of targeted spooky content. If you'd like to see more from me, please do subscribe, and if you like the video, please drop it a like, and I will see you with the next one, which will probably be my first spooky seasonal challenge reading vlog, either next week or in a couple of weeks. We'll see how my reading goes for that. But yeah, I'll see you soon.